Hi, everyone. Maureen with the Power of the Tribe. Well, I am really, really, really thrilled today. I have Marlene Elizabeth, the author of MoneyWings. And her positioning and her level of leading through generosity is evident in this book. The book is all about our relationship with money and how that relationship can really, truly hold us back from living in our abundance and just being able to be vulnerable and open up and allow that the gift to give us that guidance is just so incredible. So I am absolutely thrilled. Marlene, I thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much, Maureen, for that beautiful introduction. I'm very excited to be here, and I'm really grateful to be here too, to be able to share my book, MoneyWings, with your audience.
So first of all, tell us all about your journey, and everyone, you have to get the book. It's one of those that as women entrepreneurs, it's another level of our growth, and we get to grow here and get to claim our power, and money is part of our power, with confidence, love, and also with allowing others to rise with us. So tell me all about your story. Tell me about your daughter. Tell me everything.
Well, I love the way that you described the journey because everything you said is right on. That's exactly what MoneyWings is all about. It really is about taking a holistic view around our relationship to money, especially as female entrepreneurs. Yeah, as we know, without the money, our business will never leave the ground, or if it does leave the ground, it will never create that sustainable profit that we need. And so it's so important for us as female entrepreneurs to look at our relationship to money. And so this is exactly how my journey started. I like to say that it's all about, books, chocolate, and money. So for me, it started with, I became a new mom, and I became a new mom late in life. And I absolutely just had this dream, this financial dream of being a stay-at-home mom. I didn't want to miss a thing with my daughter. And the other piece of this is that I really wanted to raise a money smart girl. The problem is I didn't know how to do either one of those things, because at the time I was definitely my mindset was definitely more around a 9 to 5 type of uh, a way of making my income. I wasn't raised understanding money. Many of us aren't. We don't often get this financial education. It's starting to shift and change now. But initially I never really understood this whole realm of money. And so when I had my daughter, I thought, well, this is the time. And it really pushed me. She really was my why. She's really behind this whole epic journey that I've started. And so from there, I thought, okay, I'm going to get a handle on this money thing, because at that time, I really had a real messy relationship with money. And so since then, I've learned that we all definitely have our different money types. And my money type tended to be more of putting my head in the sand, just ostrich. Oh, it'll all work itself out, right? And so I basically thought that the answer was to basically buy myself a good personal finance book and read all about it. I had always been a great student. I knew how to learn. I knew how to, to figure things out myself. And so I bought this. I even bought the best. I went on Amazon, and I remember I thought, well, this has got to be good. It's a $150 book. It's probably the whole course. So I picked up the book, and it didn't take long before two things happened. One, I was very grateful that the author said, money is not rocket science. And so that gave me some relief, because I had a lot of anxiety around money in terms of, well, I'm not good with math. And I'm more of a creative type of person. I really see the world through a creative lens. Your right brain. And so I was really grateful when the author said, it's not rocket science. Anyone can develop the skills for good money management. Great. The problem is I didn't resonate with the book because it was just so dry. It was so boring. It didn't connect with me. And what I learned from that down the road is that a lot of it was because it didn't really get to my why. It didn't ask me about what's the why around me wanting to get a handle on my relationship to money. And that's huge. That really is huge. Because talking about money and dealing with money can be very scary if you've never really been a part of, if that's never really been part of your life, of really having a good relationship with money. So, and the other thing that was, that I realized is that, as women, we tend to have a holistic connection with the world around us. We tend to want to understand the why behind of what we do. And it's a lot easier when we can start understanding our emotions around money. That's a biggie. Our, our passions, our purpose, which is kind of the spiritual, realm of money. And all the practical nuts and bolts will come as well. But really understanding our thoughts around money, those are all really important points that we need to really address, even before sometimes we get to the nuts and bolts of finance. So this book was all about the nuts and bolts of finance, and I couldn't understand why I wasn't resonating with it. But later I learned it was because it wasn't dealing with the other areas of our relationship with money: the mind, the heart, the spirit, right? So intuitively, what I did is I thought, you know what? I closed the big book, big heavy book, and I said,
How big was it? It was a big book, right?
yeah, it was a big one. It was a really big, if I threw, if I dropped it on the ground, a huge thud, right? But, and it's a fantastic book. I mean, in and of itself, for the nuts and bolts and practical pieces of finance, exceptional. But I needed to go into my relationship with money through a different door. And that's really what it was about. So what I did is I thought, well, it seems to me that common sense seems to be, what if I were to learn how people who already have a healthy relationship with money, how do they think? What is it that they know that I don't know? And so with that, I ended up going back online and I basically bought 2 books full of money quotes. Now, that was a more practical way for me to actually start this epic journey of my relationship to money because, one, I was a very tired and busy new mom. And so to be able to just open up this book and just read quotes about money from those who had already really had a handle on this topic, where I could just, some days I could read pages of quotes, other days I could just read maybe 1 or 2. But it started to drop these seeds of new ways of thinking about money. And that was powerful. That was really, really powerful. That in and of itself, it was those mini bite-sized steps that we need to take when we approach this topic. And so it was simple,
I
but
thought that was brilliant, by the way. It would be right from the beginning. You said, all right, I'm going to go to the source and I'm going to then find out who has a handle, that their relationship with money. And I love that term now. Now that just makes so much sense. Our relationship. We have a relationship with food. We have a relationship with people. Money is a very, it's and we also that we have a relation money and the shame with that. We'll get into all of those, but it makes so much more sense. It is a relationship. And when you look at it, the light goes on.
it is a relationship. It absolutely is. And at the time I was doing all this, I didn't have a concept of any of that. I just knew that I was able to kind of, in one way connect to the wisdom that people were sharing around their perspectives and their insights and their understanding around money. So that it started to help me start to compare that against my whole thoughts around money. And so one of the things that became very apparent after reading 300 to 500 quotes, right? Over time, of course, but because I tend to be a very big picture person. And so from a very high level view, I started to realize something that I could actually finally relate to when it came to money. And that is, money is about so much more than just money. It's about our mindset. It's about how we think about money. And so at that time as well, I didn't really even have any understanding of what we are starting to learn more about our brain and about how, what we believe is what we create. At that time, I didn't know any of that, but I was able to really understand that money is about so much more than just money. It's about our life. It's about a bigger picture, right? And that's where I was really starting to realize that, again, it's yes, it's the practical nuts and bolts, essential, absolutely essential. But sometimes if we can't get through as creative visionaries, as female entrepreneurs, if we can't get into understanding our relationship to money through the practical pieces, maybe it's really great to first start with our thoughts about money. What do we believe about money? What's your first money memory of money?
Yeah.
You know, uh, how do you feel about money? And you touched on the core of what really sometimes prevents us from even having this conversation, and that's shame.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And that it's like it's too. You can do one or the other. You can be spiritual and philanthropic and serving, or you can pursue money, and that they can align together is something else that you lean into. But that just is, it's where we get that from, and what we get. But that's then and there stopping us from even standing into where we get to go.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, this is the piece that I address as well in my book, is that for me, when we talk about, limiting money beliefs, right? We start realizing, oh, wait a minute, I actually have a belief about money that's disempowering me. That's actually preventing me from actually ever reaching my goals, versus having an empowered belief about money that's going to help me, really thrive in my business, right? And so for me, my limiting money belief was exactly what you shared, is that you can't be spiritual and be wealthy. That's just, what I was, raised with. And the messages come from, sometimes from those who raise us, our parents or grandparents, caretakers. Sometimes they come from churches that we are a part of. Sometimes they come from our workplaces, the community, society. I mean, the messages about money come to us in very different ways, but we start to take them on as our own without even realizing it. It happens at a very subconscious level. So we're not even aware that we're walking around or maybe trying to run our business with limiting beliefs around money, until we actually start cracking this egg open, until we start breaking open the conversations and actually start talking about it. But as we started sharing earlier, Maureen, that you mentioned, shame often prevents us from even getting there. We can either just, as I did, put my head in the sand, because, I'm educated. I'm very fortunate. I have, college degrees. God's given me, everything that I need to thrive in life, I believe. So I had a lot of shame around my problem around money. It starts to get to the heart of, well, maybe I'm not worthy of it. Maybe I've done something wrong. Again, maybe my family lineage, somewhere in their lineage, did something wrong, and somehow we're paying the price for it, right? All kinds of things that you start to figure out, and you're trying to make meaning around the fact, why are other people getting this and I'm not? I'm smart, I'm a good person. What is it, right? But kind of getting back to this limiting belief I had around, you can't be spiritual and wealthy. Well, what happened was, is I started realizing that not only did some of the quotes that I read from some of these very wise and wonderful good stewards of money shared, some of them were spiritual people, they themselves, but I also started kind of lifting up my head and started looking around and saying, well, um, for example, Bill Gates, I thought, gosh, he's one of the wealthiest, men in the world, and his family, he and his wife, and they do so much good with their wealth in Africa, with health, gosh, it's just really powerful to see what he's been able to do with his income. I thought of Oprah Winfrey, right? These are just kind of common household names that you hear all the time. I thought of Oprah Winfrey. I thought, wow, she's given a lot of joy and she's built schools in Africa as well. I mean, she's done a lot with her wealth. So I had to start rethinking, what is it about this that I'm thinking you can't be spiritual and wealthy, when I'm actually seeing role models of good people doing it? So, it takes time, this money work and this taking a look at your beliefs, it takes time, right? So what is in it? It's like, what's in it for me, right? What is in it for me to put all this blood, sweat, time, and tears to figure all this out? And for me, it was the fact that I really wanted to have a business. I really wanted to be this stay-at-home mom with my daughter, to be able to do that as an entrepreneur. And frankly, my journey in understanding my relationship with money also helped me to discover that I am entrepreneurial. That's just who I am. And I never really understood that that was one of the reasons why I continued to be an under earner in the workplace and in the 9 to 5 workplace, because I was a square in a round, hole. I was trying to fit where I just didn't fit. And it's not to say that 9 to 5 isn't a perfect fit for some people, right? For many people, but I was not. I was born more to be an entrepreneur, but didn't know that about myself until I started this journey, learning more about my relationship with money, learning more about my relationship with earning, with spending, with saving, with investing, with sharing,
Yes,
my
yes, yes.
resources, right? So there's so many layers to it,
Something's dinging. Am I dinging or are you dinging?
that's what I'm saying, Maureen. I don't know how to turn this off. Let's see. Let me just put on here. Let me see here. I don't know. Um, there's one again there. Okay. So if I go to messages, how do I turn this off? Like, I've quit messages before I started, maybe if I go to preferences and just turn the whole thing off somehow. Do you know how to do that,
Hold on.
Maureen?
I'm going to, let me see, minimize this.
I don't know how to,
No.
maybe sign out of it? No. Oh,
And
delete.
if not, then we'll be fine because we get to adapt.
I can put on, I can Google it too. There we go.
See, you are such an entrepreneur. This is what we do. We adapt. We figure it out.
Exactly. So it says you just open Messenger on your Mac, messages, okay, accounts tab. So then okay, well, so that was it, sign out button. Okay, so I'll just try that then.
Okay.
So let me go here. Let me go to preferences. Yeah, we're resourceful, aren't we? We just keep moving along. Okay, I'm just going to say sign out and then sign out. There we go. Perfect. I learned something new.
There was another one with the limited belief, which just so, especially with an entrepreneur, because we walk to a different drum, or different beat, and it's a curse and it's a joy, but it's just how we're wired. And the other was the limiting belief that you can only make money, sustainable life supporting money, by working for someone else. That's so ingrained in everything we do as well. And just that spoke to me as well. That comes from upbringing.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I always picture this one client that I had, Kristen, who, when we first started working together and we crossed paths, I remember I was giving a presentation and I was going through the different types of limiting beliefs, many of the common ones and sometimes not so common limiting beliefs that we can have around our money, to kind of help people to start thinking about what other beliefs that they may have. And for her, after she came up to me after the presentation and she said, I was floored when you said that I can actually make money. It doesn't have to be working for somebody else. I can actually make very good money, because she was she was a very powerful earner. I mean, she really was, but she believed it was only because she was working for somebody else. Now, what was painful for her, and why this was such good news for her, is because she worked in a very toxic environment, but she felt she had no other choice.
Right.
And so she felt very used. She felt that the people around her were very toxic. Her boss, was very toxic, but she didn't feel like she had another choice. It was her only way of making the income and living the lifestyle she was used to. So when she came to this talk and realized, wait a minute, there's another way to look at this. That was a real life changer for her. It really was. It was the start of her shifting her whole mindset, and then ended up, leaving, and she ended up pursuing an opportunity to be more of an independent consultant. So she still had the structure, but wasn't completely just figuring everything out on her own. She had the structure and the support as an independent consultant, but had the freedom still to really go for it.
That was her first step in that direction.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Again, when I was reading it, and it's It's so funny because I mean, to even be saying, okay, we're going to talk about money, that in itself is almost a negative connotation until it's not, because it's about, especially as an entrepreneur, it's that doesn't, so you can be successful, and I use the word abundance, right, as opposed to wealthy, because even that's a mind shift, that wealthy is a negative connotation, where abundance is that we're bringing a higher energy. And so I will be going back again and doing some of the exercises. And you also brought up a big one with women is the worthiness, that to and then to as an entrepreneur, to ask, put the offer in there, and what holds us back, and these are all money issues in our relationship with money.
Yes. And what's really powerful is you start to realize that when you start going down this route to start uncovering your relationship with money, you start to realize, oh my goodness, this actually applies to other areas of my life. And so it's a pretty incredible way to start not only healing your relationship to money, but other relationships in your life. You mentioned health, relationships with other people, relationships at our work or with our workplace or with our profession. I mean, it really is a very rich journey. And so, but as you shared, it takes courage. I mean, when you're talking about worthiness, that takes courage to start talking about that. And so when my journey led me eventually, when I started to, really start realizing how important it is for me to really take this conversation seriously about money for myself in my own life. I eventually became a certified money coach because I started realizing that I was among other female entrepreneurs who were in the same position as I, who had never really, they're doing business and they're learning about systems and they're learning about all the things you have to learn about when you're an entrepreneur, but never really having that introspective opportunity, that moment and those moments to really reflect on what is your relationship to money in the first place, right? And so I realized that I could combine my certification as a money coach, as well as my degree that I have in religious education and my experience working in ministry and in the spiritual world. I could bring that together and bring a more holistic way for us to enter into this conversation, but most importantly, in a safe way. I really love to be able to provide a safe harbor for women to come together and talk about the relationship with money, learn and grow in the relationship with money, because it is very tender territory. And here's the thing, Maureen, it doesn't matter how much or how little money you have in your bank account. Everyone has limiting money beliefs. Everyone has their struggles. Everyone has their stresses, their shame, their sense of, not being worthy. It doesn't matter how much money you have in your bank account. So the difference is, you can tell the difference of those who really own their worth and really own their value and really understand and have a healthy relationship with money, versus those who we can end up being trapped by money and kind of enslaved by it, that it kind of, it's on our mind 24/7 in one way, shape or another. And we just never find that freedom away from it. And so where it's a resource in our life, but not like the master in our life.
And that's the other thing, that when I started this conversation with you, you could have just stopped there and still been able to support others, but you took the next step, knowing how important this conversation is, and you gave it to others through your book. And it was courageous, it was vulnerable, and it was such a gift.
Thank you. And I tell you, I understand the journey for, new and aspiring authors It's like giving birth to another child, a book. And the book itself isn't very long. So it could be a very quick read. It depends on where you are on your personal development. I mean, if you've really had the opportunity to really dive deeply into, really understanding your thoughts, your habits, the way you operate in this world, then you might be ahead of the game when you read the book, and it might be an easier, quicker read. Others, I've been told, where they really haven't had that opportunity to do that personal development. There's a lot to chew on. And so they find that they will read it once through and then they'll go back to it, because there's some really key core concepts to really digest, and that are really powerful.
Well, you started out in the book as well as that, and this when it comes to coaching and reaching out and finding mentors, there's a worthiness there as well that you get to invest in yourself. And that whole piece is another of often women's development. We usually spend on ourselves last. And for when women get to make that first step of putting themselves first, and you have to be able to put the mask on the plane to be able to then take care of the person next to you. Transformation, leadership, that whole personal development is another piece of that worthiness, and also relationship to money and that resource. So I loved how you mentioned that as well, because again, yeah, I obviously we're in the realm where we were given gifts of transformation, and it's such a game changer. And then your book is on top of that. Then it opens up another door to walk through and say, all right, yes. So I again, I'm really grateful that you put this out there for everyone.
Thank you, Maureen. Thank you. It is a labor of love. You'll find that when you, are able to run a business that's profitable and sustainable, it's because you have found your sweet spot. And by that, I mean that you're really in alignment with your passion, your purpose, your principles, your values. You're just really in alignment with what you do very well in the world, what you love doing really well, and what matters to you. So these are things that what happens is when you're in alignment in that way and you're operating in that way, what happens is it's not really about the money. Yes, you have to be, you have to have your business hat and make sure that you're measuring your metrics and tracking everything and have your systems in place. Yes, that's very, very true. But what gets you up in the morning to do the business isn't the money. It's actually the mission that you're on. And it's also the joy of operating in your zone of genius. And, a lot of times, unfortunately, we're not also given the opportunity to really learn what we're great at and if we do learn it, sometimes we're not necessarily supported in it. And so sometimes then that's when we hide it and it doesn't come out. And then at the same time, we're hobbling in our relationship to money. See, so there's a real correlation there, a real correlation. Even knowing what we value, what we don't value, so that we know where we begin and where we end. So that we know that we're living what we believe in the world. We're not just following what everyone believes in that moment. These are all these pieces all directly relate back to the amount of income that we're generating or not generating. Because when we're talking about money, it is about so much more than just money.
And that's, I love the way that you said it, because, and again, it comes back to success is based on money. And yet with that, again, it goes to our worth. And there's just so much to that I love. You know what else I really enjoyed the brain work that you had incorporated into the book. That was fascinating and just so important. And it's so important that women, again, are they think longer in terms and planning and then so that we're able to be different for men versus women and different people and yet that it's all good.
Yes, yes. And before I talk a little bit about that, because I love that the brain piece too, and how that really added to this whole conversation of money. But I want to go back to one thing you said, Maureen, about how we tend to measure our success based on the money, right? And what I've learned is that so the money is a wonderful way for us to track how we're doing in our business,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
And so
And
and
lack of is then a lack of is it's failure. It's either pass or fail, and there's nothing. So
correct.
it's such a relationship.
So what happens is we tend to personalize that. We tend
Hmm.
to, and what happens is if you can start untangling it and realizing that the money is just a very kind of almost raw data that's just simply showing you how much are you really connecting with your audience. Let's just say in business, I can only speak to, because I work with female entrepreneurs. But if you're a female entrepreneur, it's gosh, I'm not showing the money for all the hard work I'm doing. So we tend to personalize it and say, I must be doing something wrong, or I'm bad, or whatever it is, right? However, we personalize it in so many different ways. But really, if you just separate yourself out of it and look at it as just very factual, this is where our left brain, we take away the emotions and we really just look at it from a left brain point of view. It's just data. It's just showing us, are people resonating with what we're sharing, whether it's a service or product? And if not, why? Maybe we need to do more market research. Maybe we're not really clearly sharing what we're doing, what we're trying to achieve. Maybe we're not sharing the benefits or the results that they will experience in working with us well enough. And that's why the money's not flowing. So, it's a real shift, because then what happens is when you are able to look at it that way, that it's not personal, that money can be a reflection of how we are connecting with our audience or not connecting. That's all it is, right? With our ideal customer.
Right.
Obviously everyone isn't going to want everything what we want. I mean, what we're sharing, but with our ideal customer, it's just building that bridge. It's just, okay, where's the gap? It really takes our relationship to money to a whole nother level. It gives us that freedom to be creative again, and to have fun, even have
And be
fun.
objective. And so again, what you're and one of the key, it just is so, I love the lessons of transformation, and yet I keep surprised how they're popping up, and yet they're so relevant, and that it's now so clear. But even it's taking things as neutral, taking money as neutral, taking that it's not a good or a bad or a fail, or it's just simply neutral. It's data. That's huge.
That's huge. That is huge. That is huge. And as you were sharing, Maureen, about the brain personality, that I shared, connection, that I shared in the book, what eventually happened is that as you're developing as a female entrepreneur, you're always going to different conferences and events. You're always trying to build your toolbox, right, to learn and grow in your business. And on one occasion, I had attended a conference where this wonderful leader, Julie Anderson, her company is Your Best Mind, and she gave a powerful presentation on learning about how our brain works at this event for women entrepreneurs. Well, that was my first awareness about all this amazing research that has been done on our brain. And so that was kind of the doorway for me. And so she had offered a certification program to start really learning more and sharing this also, and integrating this into the work that I do as a money coach. And so I became a certified brain personality connection specialist. And that's a big, long word just to say that I really help also help women understand, where their gifts and strengths lie. And there's a lot of ways to do this. Some do Myers-Briggs, some do the Enneagram. I mean, there's many, right, that are out there in in the corporate world. There are many that are used and relied upon. And they're all valuable and helpful, because I really, as I've, gone down different routes of learning about my own personality, I've really find that if you can glean a little bit from all of those and put your own composite together, then you kind of get the best of all the worlds. Because one may not say everything about you, or maybe one resonates more with you than another. But what I love about learning about our brain is that it's scientifically backed, that it's hard data, it's hard science. And just learning that we all, we all need to really understand where our gifts and strengths lie and where our weaknesses lie. That really also impacts how we earn our money as well. And so I do incorporate that, into my book, and I incorporate it into my work when I coach. I make sure that the clients I work with know not only what their money personality is, but also what is their natural innate gifts and strengths? What's their superpower that just they can do all day long? Not whether they got paid for it or not, they just love it and they lose track of time. What is that? And so I go into a little bit about that in my book.
And what's also really great about that in looking in an outward focus, when you understand what someone's, again, could be called operating system, whatever, where you want to go with that and what that looks like, depending on the test, you learn to communicate better because you're suddenly understanding that say you have your analyzer who just needs so much data. And I'm in yours, I would be a promoter or an innovator, and then to be able to breathe and say that's just who they are, and then you give them what they need is such insight, and it brings everyone together because there's no right or wrong. So it's just, I
Yeah.
love that too.
It really gives you, think about the leading edge. It gives you as a female entrepreneur, because a lot of times you'll hear, I hear, that, well, I can't do that because so-and-so's already doing that and they do it so much better than me, which is not true, right? But what a leading edge it would give you to say, well, yes, I do the same thing that this other person does. However, I teach to how that person receives information. I recognize that not everyone receives information visually, not everyone is auditory, not everyone is kinesthetic, but I know the difference and I cater how I teach to that particular learner and so what a godsend that is for those participants, students, or clients who end up meeting you and say, oh my goodness, you get me. You're customizing it in the way that you're speaking my language, right? And so, that alone will bring in more income for you in your business. It's really, there's so many different creative ways for us to be able to create our income and to enter into this relationship with money, but also to be able to understand that the compassion that we really need a lot of deep compassion for ourselves. And yeah, we just need a lot of patience and, just persistence, and we need people around us too, that we can trust, that we feel safe to take this journey, with. And sometimes that isn't necessarily the people that are our family or necessarily our friends, but even best friends. Sometimes it just needs to be like-minded fellow female entrepreneurs that have the same dreams, the same challenges, the same sacrifices, and the same, just those same dreams on the line. That they can really start understanding and connecting with each other in a way around the relationship to money that feels like they can take that one brave feather step, forward, because we do delve into the past. We have to talk a little bit about the past when we talk about our relationship to money, our money story, our money biography. We need to do that, but it's definitely not to stay there because the past is gone. We can't do anything more about the past. It's a matter of bringing that very rich information that we know from the past, which is painful to go into sometimes. Sometimes it's quite interesting to go into. There's a lot of different emotions that play around it. But just, again, bravely doing that. And then bringing mindfulness, being in the present and remembering now we're in the present, though, and we have the power to change it. We have the power to change it. And what I like to say is that everything that I do is to really help women to be able to own their moment. When that moment comes, I want you to be prepared to own that moment, own it. And owning it isn't just necessarily the confidence and the courage and the tools and everything that you need to own that moment. It also means the money. Yeah. It also means having the financial resources to take advantage of an opportunity that's just appeared in front of you that is going to require an investment. That's a lot of times women will find, well, I don't have the money to do that. And so they hold themselves back and sometimes they really don't, or they just have the fear of spending it, right? When I work
with the worthiness again.
Yes, the
That's
worthiness,
worthiness.
worthiness, and then sometimes, some women struggle with, their scarcity mindset.
Yep.
There's I'm very frugal and a fear of letting go of the money, and that's still being enslaved by money, just in a different way.
Yeah,
It's just
absolutely.
it's really it's really powerful. Yeah, when you start along this road, and that's where the chocolate comes in.
And chocolate and candles were through and through. And when we get off, I have a little surprise for you. Did you know I actually, as a serial entrepreneur, I created an entire luxury candle line?
Oh my goodness.
And now I only like keep that to friends and whatnot. But I had to say, oh, I need to be sharing one with you. So we get to do that.
Yes, because I do talk about that, when we're talking about sitting down and going down our, let's just say, because one of the assignments that my clients have is, let's talk about your money story, and they in their own quiet time do that. But I tell them, but put yourself in an environment that's comfortable. Find a comfortable chair, find a cozy blanket if it's, winter outside. If it's summer, make sure you're cool, have an ice, your favorite drink, have some nibbles of dark chocolate, play your music, put on your candles, aromatherapy. I mean, all the different ways to stimulate your senses. Don't go into this money conversation and leave your body behind.
Yeah.
Don't do that, right? Bring everything into this conversation so that you can really be present in it and really dive into it in a way that can really transform not just your business, but your life and your
Life.
relationships all around.
So now what's next? Because I know that you alluded to a second book in the book. Is there a second book out, or where is that? It's coming.
Well, yeah, it's coming, but I
Okay.
have to say that it was put on pause after MoneyWings was published. My goal was to kind of start in a new path and kind of start, writing a different book. But since then, based on the feedback that I've received from my clients and from students and just from readers, is that to build upon this idea of MoneyWings has really come more to the forefront. So when I do set out to, you know, uh, basically launch another publication, it's basically going to be Money Wings revised. It's going to be expanded. It's really building upon this whole concept of creating more income and impact like you dream of doing, and being able to do it in a way that is aligned with everything that you bring, that this world is meant to have, is meant to receive from you. So, Money Wings is all about this idea of financial spirituality. It's this holistic mind body approach to money. And so when I do, when another book comes out, it's still going to be Money Wings, but it'll be revised and expanded, based on everything that I continue to learn working with all those female entrepreneurs I'm working with.
What's going to be fun is if there's some case studies in there of women that had gained their wings and what that looks like. That would be really interesting.
Yes, absolutely. That's kind of for me the next step is to do the case studies so that you can actually see, okay, this is how it actually looks, because there's some women that are doing the work and there's some women that are watching and waiting to see, to dip their toes in. And so I would love to be able to bring those more to life. Because honestly, Maureen, I don't see Money Wings as something that I just do in this world, and then when I'm gone, it's done. I really see Money Wings as something that is to be carried on, because at the heart of it is the success of female entrepreneurs that are doing amazing things in this world. And so when you're able to get your relationship to money, where it needs to be, and it's a journey, you continue to succeed in your business. And that is so important for what I'm seeing out in the world. We just really need that.
Just came up with an idea. If when we return from COVID and possibly go back to a retreat model, the whole of, I mean, and my whole and it aligns. It's mine is women finding their purpose. When you're in your purpose, again, that's your calling, your purpose. But the relationship with money is right after that. In the it's the why, the vision, your focus and purpose. And then I'd love to be able to do some kind of like master retreat. Maybe something together and others.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's the direction I'm heading into is
Oh,
so I've been working privately one-on-one with clients,
mhm.
but I've been working on building an online course, but it's more of an online retreat experience so that instead of just only having the opportunity to work with me one-on-one, which sometimes can be not necessarily in everyone's budget, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Join a group of women and there's so much, oh my goodness, there's just so much opportunity and richness to join with other female entrepreneurs to go on this journey together, to hold each other accountable. It's amazing. And so right now at this moment, I'm working on launching an online retreat. And so I'm hoping to do that in October.
Oh, soon.
Yes,
Fabulous. Oh,
yes,
okay, great. Then tell us all about it. Lead
yes,
into it.
yes.
Great. I'm excited.
One of the ways to kind of start, if you want to be part of it, is because it's a brand new pilot, right? I mean, I'm just getting started, and I love co-creating with others when I start, the programs that I do. And so I have, if you go to bit.ly, so it's bit.ly, right? Bit.ly,
Mhm.
bit.ly, and then / chat with Marlene. When you go to that link, you will see something called the 100 Female Entrepreneurs Project. And so what I'm doing
Oh,
right now
I
is I'm
love that.
talking with, my goal is to speak to 100 female entrepreneurs before the end of the year about their love-hate relationship with money that seems to be getting in the way of this dream of creating more income and impact doing what they love. And so it's just a 15-minute call with me. And we just talk. There's no sales involved. This is not a sales call. This is simply to just get a better understanding of where you as an individual are struggling around this love-hate relationship that you have that's really impacting your business.
And your life.
Yeah, and your life, exactly, and your
Absolutely.
life. And so, yeah, I really highly recommend that if you go to that link and then hop on and get a 15-minute call with me, we can chat about this, and then I will be following up with the results of my research, and I will be, sharing the opportunity to how you can participate in the pilot. And the pilot is going to be a wonderful opportunity to get in at a very low investment because down the road, the investment will be higher to get involved. But that's just in appreciation for you kind of, going through the process with me. And it's not going to be all perfect and neat yet, but I'll need your feedback and your, what you think could be better, what works well, what doesn't work so well. You'll be kind of part of that co-creative process, but you'll also be able to invest at a lower rate and get a lot of support because it's going to include not only group support, but private one-on-one support with me. And that won't be the case in the future.
Yeah.
In the future, it'll just be the group. And then, just I will be part of participating in the group as a group. But in the pilot, the first pilot, it will be me actually with you one-on-one as well as with the group.
I'm so excited. So when this is produced, which will be tomorrow, will be coming out, that I'll have all the links there ready to go. So this way we can encourage that. And let's do something maybe on the TV show. Maybe let's revisit and see how that's going, because I'm excited about the whole process and where all these women get to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool.
Thank you.
So any last words? So that's what's on the table now. That's what you're working on.
That's what I'm working on. Yeah.
Wonderful, because October is right around the corner. So
Yes. Yep. So I'm just wrapping up the final promotional materials to get the word out. But I'm also wrapping up because to this date, I've already spoken to about 35 women. And so just based on their input, I'm starting to put together the kind of the running the analysis on what's been shared. And then, and then I'm going to offer the invitation to join me on this pilot. So
that's fun. And I want to share this with my audience. It's such an important piece as female entrepreneurs to have this in our dialogue. And it's again, that you brought this forth as a give to others is a thank you, because it's really amazing.
Oh, thank you, Maureen. Thank you. And thank you so much for the opportunity to share it. Yeah, I really, really appreciate this time with you. It's been wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Okay, we'll be back. We're going to do a revisit, and let's make sure we get the out for the 100 women, what that is going to look like, and oh, what great work. Thank you. Stay safe,
Thank you.
and I look forward to seeing you again.
Sounds great. Thank you, Maureen.
Bye.
Bye-bye.